Hi everybody, I'm Tony E at Show IP Interface Brief, and today is still day 36 of my 100 Days of Labbing journey. This is my wrap-up video. Today I did the CCIE Routing and Switching V5 workbook from INE. Go over there to INE and grab this sucker. It has been a really awesome journey working through this workbook. Even when I was working through my working towards my written exam, I went ahead and used this workbook. So it's here. It's $299.99. It's a good buy. So if you got $300 to invest in your future, this is where I would put my money, 100%. They don't pay me to say that. I've just really enjoyed their product. I've taken Narbix boot camp. I've taken an INE boot camp. I've used this workbook. I've worked through some of Narbix workbook. I've done some of the Cisco 360 stuff. And this is the one thing that I really go to and work on. So definitely worth it. Besides the labs that actually teach you the fundamental technologies and the advanced technologies, there are large labs in the back of the book. So those of you who have been following along with this journey know that over the past nearly 2 months. You guys realize it has been 2 months since I started this journey, and I'm kind of sad that it has been 2 months and I've only gotten 36 days of labbing in. Now that's not 36 8-hour days. That's 36 days calendar days that I count that I have done focused labs. So all in all, I think I have, in fact, if I put today's time in, which I will do as we speak right now. Today is Sunday. How much time was my, how long was my last stream? Just going to look up my last stream here. My channel, 6.5 hours. 6.5 hours I just did. Let me put it in the tracker. So here I am on the tracker. I have right here 124 hours tracked. 124 hours in 36 days. So let's do calculator. Let's do 124 divided by 36. So I'm about nearly 3.5 hours per study session. Now, that's not an exact science, because on the weekends I try to do long labs. That gives me anywhere between 6 and 8 or 9 or 10 hours of straight labbing, whereas the stuff I tackle on the weekdays are about 1 to 2 to 3 hours. So, but it's a pretty good run. So if anyone is looking to sort of keep pace, or kind of wants to measure sort of what does it take to do this, I don't know if I'm going to pass the lab exam. I don't know even if I'm close. But this is my journey and this is my documentation. So anyhow, getting back to my graded exam, today I did the Troubleshooting Lab 1 in the back of the book. Really, really good lab, a lot of fun. I was actually really dreading this lab because some of the troubleshooting labs I've taken previously have been really difficult. This one, I don't think the difficulty level was that bad. Actually, it says right here, difficulty rating, 10 is the highest, and this is a difficulty rating of 8. I actually don't feel like it was an 8, but they say it is, so let's go with that. Okay, so let's review the tickets in order, how I did, and what I need to work on to help drive my focus for studying over this next week, and kind of choose what our path is going to be over this week and into next weekend. Okay, there's a lot of do's and don'ts. I'm not going to rehash them, but there's a thing here where it says don't add any new interfaces or IP addresses. Don't remove any feature configured to resolve a ticket. You must resolve the issue rather than remove the configuration. I'm pointing that out in this cluster of about 10 or 12 bullet points because those 2 bullet points are going to come around and bite me as I've graded this already. Ticket number 1. Ticket number 1 was a basic dynamic BGP peering. A couple of routers couldn't peer with the other. I got that one 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can spin up a whiteboard here. So let's say, put myself down here. So I'm going to say, number one, I'm going to give myself 1 point. Let's see if 1 equals 1 point. That one was pretty easy, guys. Nothing to it. Simple. It was like somebody fat fingered the configurations, and you just go and you correct them. No big deal. Ticket number 2 was a router was generating an aggregate, but it wasn't getting advertised anywhere. That one was because of inherent community values, the no advertised community value of the component routes that made up the aggregate. So that was just something you sort of had to you had to know. You had to know that ahead of time. You had to have that theory and that foundation well understood. And I did, and it took me a little while to sort of tool around and get it right, get it set up right, but I got full credit for that. So that's number 2, 1 point. Now, on that one, I actually spent a lot of extra time working through that because just because my router, in this case 13, was advertising the aggregate, the other routers weren't installing the aggregate. And that was kind of bothering me. I kind of didn't know, what did they really expect from us? Did they want us to make it so it installed the routes as well, or just advertise from 13 and call it a day? Judging by the output of the answer key, they wanted us to just advertise from 13 and call it a day. Actually didn't care if the other routers downstream installed it or not. So I gave myself full credit for that one. Full credit is 1 point here. Ticket number 3, I actually could not work because I'm using, I built this topology, or I didn't build the topology, but I'm using the topology, which is the IOS-V or VIOS platform, and it doesn't support the OSPF fast reroute. So for number 3, I'm giving myself a skip. So I'm going to take that off of my final points. And what that means is I'm going to build this topology again, and I'm going to work this ticket. I'm going to build it with the CSR 1000V images, so I can go back and work this ticket, because I don't want to just skip this and have it. I don't want to have never have attempted it. I want to make sure I can do everything I can to do as much of these topologies before the lab exam. I don't want anything to be a surprise for me at the lab exam. And so I definitely don't want to skip good material. Here's good material right in front of me. I'd be punishing myself if I didn't give it a try at least. Okay, the next ticket, ticket number 4, was router 9 cannot ping router 20's loopback. So this is from one side of the topology all the way to the other side of the topology. And I spun my wheels quite a bit on this one. Let me see if I can pull up my notes. Here's my notes. I'll put my notes over here on the screen, and I'll come back to my drawing. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. So ticket number 4, when I looked at the answer key, I was actually kicking myself. I was kicking myself because I thought that it was very simple and obvious. It was very, very simple and obvious. It was like 2 lines. In fact, I think that was something. It says make a maximum of 2 changes in the network to solve this ticket. So there was 2 configs that you needed to make, just 2 simple ones, and they were simple. And I didn't get them. So I looked at the answer key here because I attempted this and I just didn't get it. Man, I walked the dog. I went from router 9 to router 7 to router 5 to what's next on to router 16, to router 17 to router 19 to router 20 and router 18. I walked the dog all through the topology, chasing this reachability, and it ended up being something very, very simple. I believe it was a service policy. Oh my God, on R9, on the source of the traffic, service policy, all outbound traffic. Anyhow, so I failed this one. I give myself a 0 for that. I earned that 0. I did not resolve the ticket, and I was spinning my wheels. I wasted a lot of time once I saw the simplicity of it. However, with that said, the answer key had 2 easy lines on it. I'm not sure I fully comprehend what those 2 simple configs, what the effect of them was. There's really some underlying theory here to understand, and it falls back on the OSPF forwarding address. And I know this is something that sort of isn't touched on that often, but every once in a while you get a good deep dive. I think Nick Russo does a good deep dive on OSPF forwarding address. I'm going to have to review that material because this caught me off guard. And the answer key looks like it was a forwarding address solution. So, so I need to review this. All right, ticket number 5. Ticket number 5, a customer is complaining that the PE on router 2 is preferring to reach router 10s via the MPLS cloud. Fix the network so that router 2 prefers to reach this address via the PECE connection toward router 10. So basically router 2 is taking the long way around to reach something that should have been directly connected. This had a couple of issues on it, and I found the issue and thought I solved it. I say thought I solved it, but I did solve it. However, this is something that's you're going to see as a common theme throughout the rest of the grading of this exam. I broke the rules. So what did I actually do? This problem was a service policy. It was actually blocking protocol 88, which is EIGRP. I removed the service policy. I took it off the router, and that fixed my problem. And I felt really good about it when I was configuring it and working the solution, because I was like, yes, I have reachability. This is good. Bam, move on. And I didn't stop to take a pause and say, am I removing a config? I really need to slow down and ask myself, am I removing a config? Because if I'm really harshly grading myself, this number 5 would be a 0. However, I'm going to indicate that I'm going to give myself a 0.5, a half a point. And why am I going to be soft to myself? Why am I going to give myself a half a point? I'm giving myself the half a point because I did fix the problem that was stated. However, I did not fix it by staying within the boundaries of the rules. So, and throughout grading this exam, this happened more than once. So it's something that I know now what I need to work on throughout working these troubleshooting labs is actually being mindful of the rules which are the do's and don'ts. Do not add IP addresses. Don't remove configurations, stuff like that. So this would have been, I think it would have been a 0. I don't think they give partial credit. I really don't know how they score the CCIE lab exam, even though I went and saw a tutorial at CCIE lab, which went deep dive into exactly how they score each element and why, and I definitely don't remember it. So ticket number 6. Let me move it over a little bit. Number 6. This one was R10 cannot reach R11's loopback. Fix the network so that R10 can reach R11's loopback while sourcing packets from R10's loopback. So basically a pinging loopback to loopback. And let's see my notes on ticket number 6. Okay, there were, get my whiteboard up. There were a couple of things wrong here. R4 was using TDP instead of LDP, tag distribution protocol instead of label distribution protocol, and R4 had the incorrect LDP password configured for R3. That's based on my notes. That happened to be the exact, some of the exact problems. Also, there was a table map configured on one of the routers, and what did I do to fix this problem? I removed the table map, and that allowed us to install a prefix for exactly what we were trying to do. So by removing a configuration that we needed, it should be a strong 0. But again, I'm going to be a little soft on myself, and not because I'm soft, but because I want to indicate that I did, in fact, solve the problem. However, I broke the rules. So these right here, these two, I broke the rules. That one was a nice one. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. Ticket number 7. There's only 10 tickets on this, guys. Not much to this lab. I mean, it took me nearly 6 hours. I had my fair amount of interruptions, and I certainly went down in the weeds, and I shouldn't have. But this was a great sort of introduction into troubleshooting labs. It says difficulty level 8. I definitely don't believe so. I don't consider myself close to being an expert, or someone that can easily solve these problems. I thought these were fairly simple. However, staying within the bounds of the rules makes it more complicated. Certainly does. So 10 tickets. I don't know how long it would take your average CCIE to solve these 10 tickets, but I bet it's not 6 hours what it took me, and even I had to skip some. So the idea here is to formulate a good troubleshooting process. And the only way to do that is to go through troubleshooting, is to develop a good process, figure out what works and what doesn't, and to carefully read requirements and understand the rules. And again, the only way to do that is to be introduced to the language of the questions and the language of the rules, just so it's familiar. And I'm just not there yet. But this was a great introduction to that. I really enjoyed this. Ticket number 7. R17 cannot receive a multicast stream. All right, this was one router on one side of the topology trying to get a multicast stream from the other side. I really pulled this thread, and I thought I might get lucky. But this one, I definitely earned a 0. I did not find the solution. Excuse me, I did not find the fault. I did not find a solution, and I was grasping at straws the whole time. I really need to work on that. In fact, the solution for it didn't even make sense to me. So one of the things was multicast wasn't turned on a lot of the routers, and I thought maybe that was part of the solution. But as it turns out, and if I remember correctly, the startup configs I told you were taken from CSR 1000V, which uses the IP multicast distributed, whereas the IOL and the IOSV images just use IP multicast routing to turn on. So I went around and turned on multicast routing, which was needed, however, was not part of the solution, and kind of, made me think it was just like an omitted command, and that's all it needed. So I was way off base with ticket number 7. So ticket number 7 definitely need to work on. So let's make a little note here and call that multicast. Okay, ticket number 8. R19. R19 cannot trace route to R20's loopback via its directly connected link. Fix the network so that R19 can trace route to R20's loopback via IPv4 and IPv6. Match the output below. So for this one, earlier in the lab, I was pulling a thread on something, and I noticed that R19 and R20 should have been using PPPoE, and it wasn't working between them. So I went ahead and fixed PPPoE earlier in the lab. And when it came down to this ticket, which was part of the PPPoE configuration, I already had that solved. So actually half of the verification was done immediately. The IPv4 connectivity, done right off the bat. Now, the IPv6 connectivity really threw me for a loop at the time. And in fact, now, even after looking at the answer key, I disagree with the answer key. And that's because the loopback on R20 is advertised into EIGRP. And we can't turn on EIGRP on those PPOE interfaces without a link local address. And there was no link local address on R20. So I went ahead and configured a link local address. And as soon as I did, the EIGRP adjacency came up. And then we can trace route and have a single hop in our trace route because they're directly connected instead of it taking the long way around. So it says in the rules, the do's and don'ts, do not configure any IP addresses. But here I feel like we need to configure a a link local address for IPv6. I feel like we needed to. It was the only way to get the protocol to turn on. If anyone has any other way, I'd love to hear it, but I was not able to get the latter half of this to work without turning on the link local address. The other thing was the answer key said that there was a distribution list or distribute list, which was denying a prefix from being entered. And I didn't even see that distribute list. I didn't even see it. It was there. I checked it just now before this stream. It was there, but I didn't even see it then. And I can't believe that I let that slip through my fingers. So, so for ticket number 8, let me see what I did here. For ticket number 8, I gave myself a question mark, which means I'm not sure how to grade it because I don't agree with the answer key. And I did have it solved. So as soon as you do the link local, it solves this. So I don't know. I give that a question mark. I don't know. Can I introduce another symbol in here? I got ones, dashes, zeros, 0.5s, and question marks. So yeah, so I have the ones, dashes, zeros, 0.5, zeros, and question marks. So I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to score this. All right. Number 9. These are the last two, number 9 and number 10. Number 9, ensure that router 6 can trace route to router 10's loopback. When sourcing traffic from R6's loopback, use the most optimal path through the MPLS cloud, lowest number of hops. While resolving this ticket, ensure that the BFD session between R5 and R3 is up, match the output below. So for this one, the first half of that was the trace route. I already had it solved. And that was solved because I had worked it as part of an earlier thread I was pulling in the topology. So again, I find myself sort of pulling some threads. I don't know. I'm going to use that analogy all the time. Pulling some threads on some of these tickets, and I end up fixing other things that I find, and sometimes they end up being tickets from later on. And I'm worried that that is actually going to get me down a rabbit hole during the lab exam in the troubleshooting section, or any other section for that matter, where I'm pulling a thread down a rabbit hole and it actually has no value. So maybe I just waste a lot of time fixing something that actually doesn't mean anything. And that would truly be a waste of time. Time is of the essence, definitely, in the lab exam. So anyhow, the first half of that, ticket number 9 was matching the output of the trace route. I had that fixed already. And the second was the BFD sessions. The BFD sessions was really easy. It was the key was different, as well as the authentication type. So instead of MD5, it was SHA, or SHA instead of MD5. You just had to change one side or the other, and it worked fine. So anyhow, I did that. So I'm going to give myself full credit here for number 9, which was nice. Felt really good. It was at the end of my lab after nearly 6 hours, so I was very happy to see that. Ticket number 10. Site 2 customer A is paying the service provider for additional redundancy. but the PE16 is having BGP convergence issues and is not fulfilling the SLA. Fix the network so that R16 has pre-installed backup path and the RIB fib for prefixes originated by R10 and R15. Do your testing with the network 10.245.2.8/31 prefix, the link between R10 and R15. A repair path should appear in the fib of R16 as illustrated below. So you need to see the repair entry in the CIF table. And this one really wasn't that bad. So I hopped around to the, I verified on R16 to make sure I saw what I saw, and I saw only a single entry. I went to the other side of the topology where those prefixes are originated and saw that there are two possible, there should be two possible entries. And it was just a matter of doing the BGP additional path install. And that just about took care of it. That was it. Also, one of the other routers was using it said in the answer key, it said an incorrect route target. However, I didn't see it that way. So instead, I just, on the far end of the topology, imported that incorrect route target, leaving it configured just the way it was. And I didn't have any problem getting two paths, and everything worked fine. So I give myself full credit for that. I think both solutions were fine. Either fix the route target on this end or just import the incorrect one on the other end. So I give myself full credit for that. So that's it, guys. That's 10. Sorry. I gave myself full credit for that. That's 10 tickets. All right. So I'm giving myself check marks now, but geez, hang on. I should be giving myself points. 1, 1. Okay. So now let's go here and add up our points. Looks like I have. What can I use? Bright blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 9. I don't know how to count this one. I tell you what, how about I just give myself a 0 for that one. I'm going to leave it as a question mark, but I'm going to just call it a 0 for the sake of keeping score. And I'm doing this out of 9 because I skipped this one, which was ticket number 3. So I skipped it because my lab couldn't even support it. So that one doesn't even sort of exist to me. So I really only worked 9 tickets today, and I got 5 of them. And, you know, if I stayed within the rules, this number could be 6 out of 9. 6 out of 9, I think, is not bad for a first go around. I'm not awarding myself extra points here. I'm taking my 5, my 5 that I earned. So that's where we are, guys. This lab was a lot of fun. It truly was a lot of fun. I absolutely love troubleshooting. Anyone who has ever talked to me about CCNP, or recerting CCNP, or, you know, because the CCNP exam is, route switch exam is split up into 3 parts. I say just wait till you get to that T-shoot. The T-shoot is the most fun exam there is. It still is the most fun exam I've taken to date. And actually, this might have been I mean, this wasn't an exam, but I absolutely love troubleshooting labs. I love digging in and finding root cause if you can. And I like the idea of sort of trying to find a solution sort of with, you know, when you have to sit on one hand and you know, where they sort of say you can only use 2 commands and you can't touch router 15 and sort of all of those crazy restrictions. I love that challenge. I mean, troubleshooting networking is the most fun. I mean, it's what you do every day. You know, if you're in any sort of operations, and really I'm not in operations, I'm in engineering, I'm still troubleshooting every day. There is something to troubleshoot every day, and it is really, really awesome. That's where you really get to put your lessons of foundations and put them to the test. So guys, this lab was awesome, awesome, awesome. It definitely gave me some takeaways and some stuff I need to work on this week. I haven't formulated exactly how I'm going to do that and how I'm going to tackle a couple of these subjects. I'm going to review and make myself a little list and just start chopping some stuff off this week. I think next weekend I might do troubleshooting lab number 2, I think. And I'm not sure if that's going to be a Saturday or a Sunday. I think likely it will be a Sunday next week. And I think, is Monday a holiday next week? I don't know if it is. Maybe I'll get an extra day of labbing in. Maybe I'll go back and try the ones I got stuck on for this. Or maybe I'll just make videos all day. I don't know. Anyhow, guys, this was a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining me for the lab, for the live stream. It was a lot of fun. I learned a couple of things, and throughout this week, I will learn a few more things, and we will all prosper together. So I think I'm going to be heading towards lab number 2. And I don't know, one day we'll circle back around and complete this because there was one ticket that I skipped, or one ticket I couldn't do, and 2 that I skipped. So we definitely want to circle back around and make sure we reclaim those 3 free points just laying out there. Actually, I want to stop because I'm just saying, points like they have no value, but actually these tickets in this lab do have points awarded to them. I think every ticket, if I'm counting this right, is 2 points. So I did a 1 point and a half point system. Each one of these is worth 2. Oh, actually, one of these is a 3-pointer. Look at that. Which was that? That was number 6. It was a 3-pointer. Look at that. I should pay more attention. Oh, number 7 was also a 3-pointer, which I did not get. So, you know what? I think I'm grading this incorrectly. 2 points, 2 points. So, because they're not evenly weighted, it changes the scoring metric a little bit. So, I'm not going to harp over it too much. Almost all of these are 2 points, except for, I think, 2 tickets, which I see that are now 3 points. Either way, I consider this, if I was a hard grading man, I failed. I failed, which is pretty common for how I grade myself after doing one of these INE labs. I failed every single one of them so far because I try to be harder on myself. If I go easy on myself, then the CCIE lab is going to kick my ass. If I go hard on myself, then when I get to the CCIE lab, I'm going to be able to put up a good fight. And that's all I'm trying to do, just training, So anyhow, thanks guys, and I appreciate it. See ya.